What is the Xianbei? This question remains a topic of intense debate in academic circles even today. Ding Qian, a scholar in the late Qing dynasty, said, the ancestors of the Wei dynasty originated from Chani, the son of the Yellow Emperor. Chani's youngest son was granted a fiefdom in the northern region. There was the Great Xianbei Mountain, and they took its name. This is the origin of the Xianbei ethnicity. The idea that they were named after the mountain represents the consensus of most ancient historians. However, no one can point out with conclusive evidence where the Great Xianbei Mountain is located today. In modern times, historians apparently like to explore the Xianbei in an open and divergent way, almost jesting about its origin. L.V. Simeon and Li Deshan believe that the Xianbei are the Shiji. He Guanyue thought that the name came from the cry of the golden pheasant. Xiaobin believed that the Xianbei Guo Luo belt meant a belt hook inlaid with auspicious patterns. There are also many other rather absurd academic viewpoints, such as the claim that it originated from the Sabuxiang reindeer, or from the two ethnic groups word for Highland barley, and so on. Before the Middle Ages, due to the limitations of their social lifestyle, public education was like a fantasy for the numerous nomadic tribes in the deserts and grasslands beyond the Great Wall. Having a spoken language but no written script was their basic characteristic. Therefore, their history was written by Han Chinese historians who held their own stances and perspectives, just as some northerners today believe that dumplings must be eaten during festivals and the Spring Festival Gala must be watched during the Chinese New Year. They thought that the Xianbei developed from a single ethnic group and then set out from Gaxian Cave, achieving great feats all the way and conquering the world. They didn't know that the deserts and grasslands beyond the Great Wall were vast areas where it was impossible to establish fixed production and living bases, and the nomadic people who followed the water and grass could not be enclosed within city walls and be uniformly managed and dominated. They only submitted to and obeyed the heroic leaders they admired. It was futile to try to control them by means and make them afraid. Therefore, I believe that Xianbei was a new tribal alliance formed after the disintegration of the Xiongnu, as various tribes needed a new common leader to uphold justice and maintain the mutual non-infringement of each other's rights on the grassland. The term Khan, which originates from the Altaic language commonly used in the regions beyond the Great Wall, established the authority and mission of the common leader of the Xianbei. Regarding the origin of the Xianbei, the biography of the Xianbei in the records of the Three Kingdoms states, after the Xianbei were defeated by Modu, they fled far outside the Liaodong Pass and did not compete with other states. They had no name known to the Han dynasty and only had contact with the Wu Huan. During the reign of Emperor Guanwu, the Xiongnu were weakened and the Xianbei then became powerful. The biographies of Wu Huan and Xianbei in the book of the later Han dynasty records, the Xianbei were also a branch of the Donghu. The Tongjin Times Frontier Defense also records the Xianbei were a branch of the Donghu. The name Donghu was first seen in the Book of Azhou, which may have been written during the pre-Qin period. The Wenhui chapter of the Book of Azhou mentions the Donghu have yellow bears and the Shanrong have beans. The origin of the Donghu is also a matter of much debate. In ancient China, all ethnic groups in the regions north of the Great Wall were collectively called the Hu people or the Hu ethnicity. The biography of the Xiongnu in the Book of Han states, the Chanyu sent a letter to the Han dynasty saying, in the south there is the great Han, and in the north there is the powerful Hu. The Hu are the favored sons of heaven. When Lin Huaxiang discussed the naming of the Xianbei and the history of Chinese nationalities, he raised a question: if the name Donghu was indeed given by the Han people, what exactly did they call themselves? Therefore, the term Donghu may be a self-designation from their own language, which was then transcribed into Chinese characters with an elegant pronunciation. Modern archaeological excavations have found that the relics of the Donghu are basically the same as those of the Wu Huan and Xianbei. Wu Kalatu, in his The Xiongnu and the Culture of Shamanism, proposed, it can be determined from the pronunciation and meaning that Hu is the self-designation of the tribes of the Altaic language family, which should be beyond doubt. In the shamanistic concept of the Mongols, humans are the children of the heavens and the earth. In the Altaic language during the Xiongnu era, the word Hu also referred to the son of heaven from the perspective of shamanism. After the Xianbei became powerful, the name Donghu disappeared from historical records and was never mentioned again. In modern times, linguists, when studying the Mongolian, Turkic, and Tungusic languages, found that they all originated from the same source and spread from the Altai region along the Yenisei River to Siberia and various parts of East Asia. Based on this, the Belgian linguist Martijn Irma-Rugbeets believed in 1844 that these ethnic groups, with their similar languages, should have a common ancestor. In recent years, remarkable achievements have been made in the field of human genetic research. The latest research results show that people widely distributed in Siberia, Mongolia, and northern China, especially the Mongols, Manchus, Awenki people, etc., are all carriers of the C3. C3 M217 haplogroup. I still don't understand why the C3 M217 haplogroup was merged and reorganized with the C2 M38 haplogroup in Southeast Asia. In conclusion, we have now formed a vague outline of what the Xianbei are. Before the Tuoba Xianbei established the Northern Wei dynasty, this was a general term for a tribal alliance originating from the Altai Mountains and radiating along the Yenisei River to the vast areas of Pan-Siberia and East Asia. They had a common spiritual belief, shamanism and Tengri. Their common language was the Altaic language. They had the common characteristic of the C3 haplogroup. They jointly owned a vast land beyond the Great Wall. They traded along the Silk Road and traveled between Europe and Asia, starting from the earliest, turning hostility into friendship and bartering. They contributed to the prosperity of one Central Plains dynasty after another, but they also brought continuous wars, chaos, and suffering to the Central Plains region. In the early days, the scattered tribes united under the banner of their ethnic groups, siding with their own kind and attacking others to gain profits. The chaos and division that formed after the collapse of the Xiongnu Empire were the opportunities for the rise of the Xianbei. However, once they achieved success, the tribes would gradually fall into a situation of internal friction and involution with no profits to be gained, and division was inevitable. Therefore, from the very beginning, the fate of the Xianbei's division was already sealed. During the Northern Wei dynasty, Buddhism was introduced, the speaking of the Hu language was prohibited, forced Sinicization was carried out, and the Ruren were attacked. In fact, the Tuoba clan had already abandoned the Xianbei alliance. So, what exactly is the Xianbei? Common ideas, common beliefs, common language, and common interests formed a common alliance, which was named Xianbei to show their common honor. Xianbei is not the name of a single ethnic group. It is a general term for the alliance established by various tribes. This is why, although the Xianbei gradually faded away after the Sui and Tang dynasties, more new alliances derived from the Xianbei concept kept emerging: the Turks, the Khitans, the Jurchens, the Mongols. They rose up at times, vanished at times, and then rose again. But their way of life, their language, and their beliefs seem to have remained unchanged all the time and have survived until now. Do you agree with my view? Welcome to leave your comments and even engage in debates in the comment section. Thank you for watching. See you next time.